Enemy by Alice Munro. Summary: Alice Munro's story Enemy is part of her collection Dear Life, published in 2012. Like much of Munro's work, this story explores the intricacies of human relationships, memory, and the impact of past actions. The narrative is reflective and examines the small, often painful, misunderstandings that can define a relationship, capturing Munro's distinctive focus on everyday life and the complex emotional undercurrents within it. Plot summary. The story centers around Helen, an elderly woman reflecting on her life and her experiences with Bev, a man she knew many years before. Bev, who was once a close friend and, at times, something of an enemy in Helen's view, had a significant impact on her life. Throughout their interactions, Helen and Bev experience moments of closeness and tension, marked by unspoken feelings and unacknowledged desires. Helen remembers Bev with mixed emotions, revisiting moments that were filled with both affection and frustration. Their relationship was complicated, characterized by small slights, subtle betrayals, and lingering regrets. Bev's influence on her life was profound, yet difficult for Helen to reconcile as she reflects on how their friendship and conflict shaped her. In her later years, Helen confronts the notion of enemy and considers how people she once viewed in such terms were integral to her life's emotional landscape. Her reflections reveal Munro's nuanced exploration of the ways we view relationships over time, recognizing that friends, lovers, and even enemies all contribute to the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. Key themes. 1. Memory and perspective. The story is driven by Helen's reflections, emphasizing how our perceptions of past relationships shift over time. Munro examines how memory reshapes the way we interpret past actions, revealing both the clarity and distortions that hindsight brings. 2. Complexity of relationships. Munro portrays relationships as layered and often ambiguous, with Helen and Bev's connection characterized by both love and resentment. The story underscores how relationships are rarely simple, often containing contradictory emotions that persist long after they end. 3. Self-reflection and regret. Helen's reflections highlight the ways in which regret and missed opportunities haunt her. Munro's story suggests that as we age, we are compelled to reevaluate past conflicts and understand our roles within them, ultimately recognizing the humanity in both ourselves and those we once viewed as enemies. Conclusion. Alice Munro's Enemy is a poignant exploration of memory, relationships, and the passage of time. Through Helen's introspective journey, Munro reveals the emotional complexity of friendship and rivalry, showing how our enemies are often an integral part of the fabric of our lives. Munro's sensitive prose and insightful narrative illuminate the inner lives of her characters, offering a window into the enduring nature of human connection. Runaway by Alice Munro. Summary: Runaway is a short story by Alice Munro, featured in her 2004 collection Runaway. This story examines themes of escape, self-discovery, and the complex nature of relationships, particularly focusing on how people often feel trapped in cycles they struggle to break. Carla, a young woman in an unhappy marriage, is the central character, and the narrative explores her desire for freedom and the difficult choices she faces. Plot summary. 1. Carla's life and marriage. Carla is married to Clark, a domineering and sometimes volatile man who operates a small farm and takes care of animals, particularly horses. She works alongside him, though she increasingly feels disillusioned and trapped by their life together. Clark's controlling nature and unpredictable behavior have made Carla anxious and weary, though she struggles to fully acknowledge the extent of her unhappiness. Carla has dreams of escaping her life but feels tied down, partially by her attachment to her beloved horse, Flora, and partly by her fear of the unknown. She contemplates running away but doubts her ability to do so on her own. 2. The role of Sylvia Jameson. Carla finds some solace in her relationship with Sylvia Jameson, an older woman who lives nearby. Sylvia has recently experienced the loss of her husband, and her own isolation makes her sympathetic to Carla's struggles. Sylvia becomes a confidant for Carla, encouraging her to consider leaving Clark if she is unhappy. Carla contemplates Sylvia's advice and eventually decides to run away, hoping to start anew away from Clark's influence. 3. Carla's attempt to escape. Carla leaves Clark and plans to stay with Sylvia. However, as she makes her way out, a sense of guilt and uncertainty overwhelms her. Clark's manipulative tactics and her attachment to Flora make her reconsider. When Flora, her beloved horse, goes missing, Carla is devastated, interpreting the event as a sign that she must return to Clark. She eventually decides to abandon her escape and go back to her husband, despite her misgivings. 4. The consequences of returning. Upon returning, Carla is met with Clark's anger and distrust. The disappearance of Flora remains unresolved, and Carla begins to suspect that Clark may have had a hand in it. Her return reinforces her feeling of entrapment, and though she had the chance to leave, she finds herself bound to Clark once more. The story ends ambiguously, leaving readers with a sense of Carla's resigned acceptance of her fate. Key themes. 1. Trapped in cycles of dependency. Carla's life with Clark represents the cycles of dependency and emotional entrapment that people can feel within relationships. Her inability to leave underscores the struggle between desire for freedom and fear of the unknown, which many face in difficult relationships. 2. The complexity of escape. Munro examines the idea of escape, showing that running away is not always as simple as it seems. Carla's brief attempt to leave illustrates her ambivalence, as she is caught between her desire for independence and the comfort of familiarity. 3. Emotional manipulation and power dynamics. Clark's manipulative control over Carla highlights the theme of power dynamics within relationships. Munro subtly depicts how emotional manipulation can erode a person's self-confidence and make it harder to leave an unhappy situation. 4. Ambiguity of freedom. The story leaves open questions about what freedom truly means for Carla. Her decision to return to Clark shows the complex nature of liberation and entrapment, suggesting that freedom is often a nuanced, conflicted choice. Conclusion. Runaway by Alice Munro is a powerful exploration of longing, vulnerability, and the complexities of human relationships. Through Carla's story, Munro captures the internal conflict that accompanies the desire to escape and the subtle ways in which people can feel trapped by both circumstance and attachment. Runaway is a nuanced portrayal of the choices people face and the often ambiguous nature of freedom, rendered with Munro's characteristic empathy and insight into human emotions.